there is an extent to which this seems like it goes against the very grain of what the American economy has been about. And people have complained. I mean, it sounds like rent control. And people have said rent control does not work because it prevents a landlord from getting a fair return on investment.
And there have been many lawsuits, including some against East Palo Alto in the 80s, and they lost because judges, by and large, have determined that, if you can cover your operations and make some profit, that's fair return. Now, what the level of profit? What the level of profit is, I don't think. Government does have the right and the power given to it by the people to have some controls, to have some policing power, we call it in a way, that we cannot, I feel, allow someone who wants to, make so much profit at the expense of people that it disrupts the fabric of the community. You have to remember that, many of our people who rent, especially right here in the heart of Silicon Valley, they provide many of the services, many of the lower paying jobs to everybody else in here. And yet, where are they supposed to live? As Matthew was saying, that cost of living increases, and even 3% may not sound like a lot, but if the salaries haven't increased and, they have gasoline goes up, everything goes up.
Well, some people would say, who cares? I mean, that's their problem. And in the American economy, the idea is for what the traffic can bear, that things will settle at its proper rate if the market is working effectively. Now, I think that's a
big conceit.
I think that people might have argued that point before the whole economic disaster that's hit the country and the excesses of Wall Street.
Right, but there's more to it than that, I think, and the idea that you have a purely free market economy is balanced against the fact that there's political determination. You can elect representatives to enact laws that have certain powers, and forming regulations is part of that power, and that's important. Now, it's important to also state that while people oppose, a lot of landlords in particular oppose rent control because they say it doesn't allow them to earn a free return, it's actually written into the law that the law has to protect the landlord's ability to make a fair return. And if these annual increases,
into this law,
it's into this law,
into Measure H or into the city's,
into both.
And very specifically, if the annual increase that's tied to inflation is not enough for a landlord to make a fair return, they can petition the rent board for a larger increase. To do so, they have to show what their income is, what their expenses are, and show that it's not meeting a standard of fair return. Very few landlords in the history of the program have done that, but it's there on the books.
How do you define what a fair return is?
Well, again, I think that allowing the rent law allows annual increase. If landlords, for example, want to make capital improvements, let's say the roof, it's gone and it needs some
or
work.
New carpets, as that
person. No. See, the thing about new carpets, it depends. Some of it is normal wear and tear, because after all, tenants are paying an amount for a service from the landlord. You expect certain things. If the carpet is gone, if the heater is not working, that's a responsibility of the landlord. Period. That's not
under state law.
Under state law, and those become actually health and safety issues. With Pachman was also very, very irresponsible in many ways to letting those go. But if they're going to make some improvements to the building and bring it up to par, they're allowed, as long as they go before the rent board to prove that it's necessary, then they can also pass through some of those to the tenants.